Defiance Press booth at the Texas GOP convention in San Antonio, Texas, and I'm sitting here with the prolific author Blaine Pardoe. Blaine, welcome to Defiance Press.
I'm glad to be here.
So Blaine, you're here. You got a new book that's coming out. What is the release date on that? I'm sorry, I don't remember.
May 28th.
May 28th. So we're very close to the release date. So tell us about this book.
This is great. It's the 5th book in the Blue Dawn series.
I'm gonna hold it up while we're talking.
Yeah, Blue Dawn is about the progressives overthrowing the government in the Second American Civil War to take it back. And this one really hits the mark because it's carrying the war out in New Hampshire and in Texas. So we're going to get to see a lot of action in Texas and a lot of action. We're going to wrap up the storyline we started 2 books ago up in New Hampshire.
So this is part of the Blue Dawn series, right?
Right.
Does somebody need to have the first book?
I really think so.
Okay,
because
so
the characters carry all the way through.
Right, all right.
The ones that live.
Right. So how many books are in the Blue Dawn series?
Right now, this is book 5. I've got 2 more books planned that will close out the arc. But then I can write books that took place during the whole series.
I will tell the audience that Blaine is a best-selling author. He's got a lot of books. How many books total has he written?
Over 100.
Is it that many?
Yeah.
Okay. Unfortunately, Defiance Press has a few of those. It doesn't have all 100, but it has a few. So tell us the process. I mean, are you a full-time author?
Yeah. I retired from Ernst & Young a few years ago. When I hit the financial mark where they said you don't have to work anymore, I said, screw that, I'm out.
You're right.
And now I write full-time, so that's why I do 7 days a week.
So for somebody that's thinking about it, and this is for aspiring authors out there, and I'm an author myself, so I know what this, but tell us about your process of writing. Do you have I have to get myself in a certain state of mind, and I have to have certain things around me blocked, but what is the process? Can you write among chaos, or do you need to have to go off into a cabin in the woods?
No,
what do you do?
I literally get up in the morning, go to the gym, because I think it's important to be physically fit,
right?
To get your blood going, and then I write. I work primarily off characters. The plots, when you get to a book, you can't come up with a new plot. They're all existing things. What makes it work are exciting characters in dynamic situations. And you can switch those characters out, put them in different combinations, and you get great dialogue, you get great adventure, and the plot can be very simple. And that to me is what's really important. So I focus mostly, before I put pen to paper, I'm focused on what are going to be my characters, what's the story they're going to tell.
So this would be considered a political thriller, right? That's the genre?
Absolutely.
Okay, great, because I love political thrillers. I love writing political
You write them.
Right. So I'm curious, the characters that you come up with in the book and the protagonists, do you base those on somebody you've met in real life? Is there any, or do you take pieces of them and develop a character together?
You have to.
Yeah.
Because you can't just create something out of stock.
Right.
So I have a character in this book who's a veteran who's forced to go fight for the bad guys.
Right.
They threaten to take away his benefits. I know a lot of veterans out there, and it's the abuse that they go through and the pain in the ass they go through to get the paltry benefits they get. And I was like, what if you threatened to take that away from somebody that needed that in their life?
Right.
And so that to me was the impetus for that character. And then once I hit that, I was telling every veteran's story. Everybody who's dealt with the VA, I'm telling their whole story. And that's where
that relates to it.
Yeah, and that's what you got to do. You have to write characters that people go, I want to know more about that guy because I kind of feel for that guy.
Right. So is it easier for you to develop a villain character or a hero character?
Well, the villains of this book.
Of course, we can look at the news, and you could easily model after political villains.
I
all
did.
the time, right?
The chief villain in this is AOC.
Yeah. Is it really?
It is.
Yeah.
The whole series.
See, that's an easy character to create.
But what I did was I made her an evil genius.
Yeah.
Which I think she is.
Well, and a lot of them are.
She is literally a genius in how she manipulates the media. She has taken Donald Trump's playbook and is playing it for the young liberals.
Right.
And so it was easy for me that to do. And what spawned her being that villain was when she made the comment about seeking retribution to all the Trump supporters. I said, that's my villain right there. That's who I want.
Pretty easy idea.
Yeah, now we may get sued over that, but you and I will go through that together.
So, I'm curious, as you're so prolific in your writing, so I'm always curious with authors like you, because I have my own methodology, I do things. So tell me, do you have a writing space? Where do you go to write?
I have an office.
You have an office?
Big
Is it
office.
in your home?
Yeah, it's in the basement.
Okay, it's in the basement.
Big office.
So do you allow distractions? Do you get distractions?
Yeah, I'll put on a movie in the background while I'm writing.
Right.
It doesn't bother me. I don't have to do it, as long as it's not something I have to pay attention to.
Right. Gotcha.
You know, so it's usually a certain set of movies that I've seen 100 times, so I already know all the dialogue. It's just there as background.
Right. So you need something in the background like that, huh?
And I have to have my dog with me, you know, because gotta have a dog. And after that,
see, I can't write without a cigar. I have to have a cigar burn. I can't write without a cigar. And we all have our idiosyncrasies in writing. So do you when you sit there and write, you write for hours? Is it?
Yeah, I'll go. Sometimes,
especially do you get on a roll sometimes? You get on a roll?
I will do around 3,000 to 6,000 words a day.
Right.
You know, you think about it, it's a lot.
Right.
And it's, you know, I'll go up, do dinner, do stuff with my wife. If I feel like it, I go back downstairs and do it. Now, trade-offs where I don't know anything about any sporting team in the United States or in the world.
You're not missing much.
I don't watch it sports because that just eats up time. You know, I don't have a big social life. I'm a writer. I chose a profession that literally doesn't want a lot of social interaction. So, you know, to me, this is cathartic for me. It helps me deal with the crap I see.
I found the same thing. I found it. In fact, when I first started writing, it was my wife's idea because she said I would watch Fox News or I get mad, go to bed mad. She goes, "You can't go to bed mad every night. You're gonna die."
Yeah.
So you always want to write a book, go write a book. And I did. I turned off TV for 6 months and wrote a book. That was my first book. So do ideas come from you in the middle of the night? You have to get up and write a note or something?
I'm writing all the time. Even when we're talking here at the booth today, I've been coming up with ideas for stuff I'm going to incorporate.
I don't have it up here, so
I'm always in a process. Not sitting at the computer. But I write all the time.
Well, so when you do get around to watching the news, there's a steady stream of new ideas every day for a political thrill.
They make it, because the Blue Dawn series is about the progressives overthrowing the government.
we're actually getting ready to
So
re-release
I
the
watch
book. Came out
them
a few years
because
ago.
they'll tell you what they're going to do.
So that's the Blue Dawn, right?
Right.
The progressives taking over the government, right?
It's the opposite of Red Dawn.
Right,
It's
right.
It's the blue people taking over.
Right.
They tell you what they're going to do.
Right.
So all I've done is go, let's give them what they want. I gave them everything that they wanted. It turns out they're assholes. You know, they are the bad guys. They are tyrants.
Right.
They're sitting here telling you, you know, Donald Trump's going to be this evil tyrant. He's going to be a dictator. Well, he's not arrested any of his political opponents. He hasn't thrown Americans in jail, you know, who went for a peaceful protest that got out of hand.
Right. Well,
They're the tyrants.
Right. So, you have an incredible fan base and following, and I know it's this Blue Dawn series. Is this would you say, is your masterpiece? This whole series?
This one, from a political perspective, I've never written political books.
Right.
I channel all of that into this. My other series I do, science fiction stuff, I don't cover politics at all.
Right.
This is where I dump
But you do have a following in those other genres. I know for a fact. You have an incredible following.
Huge following.
So, not to put you on the spot, but tell us a little bit about your experience. I mean, you published books long before you came to Defiance Press and became one of our best authors. So, any aspiring authors considering Defiance Press, what would you tell them?
Look, Defiance Press, I love you guys because you're a conservative publisher. You don't hide from it. You don't shirk from it. You wrap your arms around it and hug tight. And I like that. It's, you know, I don't have to.
Now, it causes us problems sometimes, as you know.
Oh.
We get censored.
We do,
Right.
but look at who censors us.
Right.
You're judged by your villains,
Right.
and
Right.
they're villains. And the fact that they're even doing censorship tells you how bad they really are.
Right.
And to me, I embrace defiance right up front. When I went to do this book, you were the first publisher I reached out to, and I researched a lot of them. But I was like, normal publishing houses wouldn't touch this in the 10 foot.
Right.
Now, if I'd written it the other way, if I'd written a Red Dawn book, where all about how bad the conservatives
We probably
are,
wouldn't have taken it.
No, but some other mainstream publishers.
Oh, you'd find any mainstream book.
And I've written for like Penguin Putnam. I've written for the big New York publishing houses.
Right.
I knew that this was a good fit for these publishers. You guys have backed me 100% along the way.
And we appreciate that. Now, so we're sitting here, thousands of people have come through here, and just sitting back and watching Blaine interact, and people who come up, tell me, describe the feeling with somebody you've never met, because I've seen this happen several times even today. People that you've never met come up and say, hey, I've read your books, I love your books. How does that make you feel?
Oh, it's the best.
Yeah.
And I had somebody come by yesterday who was like, I just came here to meet you.
Right.
And I was like, wow, this is really something. To me, you're building a tribe.
Right.
And my other publisher, Wargate Books, said, you got to go build a tribe. And he's dead on right. You're building a fan community that supports
It's a
you.
platform.
And I was shocked that there's a Blue Dawn fan group up on Facebook. Somebody started.
Right.
And it's got a small
No,
number.
from what I've seen since we've been here, I can believe that. When people come up, want to meet Blaine, know who he is, have read all of his books.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
It's wild. And God, I love Texas.
So when you moving here,
Where
do you live?
I live in Virginia, right outside D.C. I live in Fredericksburg,
Well,
Virginia.
technically you're still in the South.
Yeah, technically I am. But, I live at a Civil War battlefield.
Right.
I live on the wilderness battlefield.
And Blaine and I have a lot in common with that. We love that. We love that whole story.
There's a lot going on there, and I like living outside D.C. because like when Trump was being impeached, you and I were talking about this.
Right.
I went up, sat in on the trial. I watched it,
Right.
and I like having that kind of access
Right.
when I need it.
Right. Awesome. So let me ask you. This is probably my last question because I can remember this day like it was yesterday. So what was your very first book? Very first book you got published?
Oh, geez. First novel was Highlander Gambit.
Okay, so describe the moment when you first opened a box and got your first book.
God, it is the biggest damn treat.
It's like having a baby.
It is.
The only thing men can't relate to this, but I mean, at the moment that's your baby, and you saw it come, you took it through and saw it come alive. It's hard to describe that feeling, isn't it?
Oh, it is. When the author copies come,
Yeah.
it's like Christmas.
Yeah.
You go, give me the cutter, I'm getting in, I want to see a book, hold it, flip through it, touch it, feel it. And it's great when they're in a bookstore, you go and you go, pull yours out, turn it so the cover's facing out, and you do stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. And I love doing the events. I go to libraries, I go to things like this,
Right.
where we can engage with the readers,
Well, have you found, because I found this, that your most ardent fans, they want to engage with the author. They want to ask you questions about how did you think about this, or your real fans want to know how you wrote the book.
They do, and they want to know the story behind the story.
Right.
What gave you the inspiration for this? And they'll tell you what character. I hate that character, love that character. And sometimes you're like, why? And it's good for me to hear from the fans. And I think it's important for anybody who's a writer. It's not about writing a book. It's about building that tribe around you, which means marketing. It means reaching out. It means being on social media, doing interviews.
Oh, wait, Blaine, are you telling me that somebody can write a book and it's not an instant bestseller overnight?
No.
So there's work involved.
You can, and those flukes do happen.
Yeah.
They do. But they're flukes.
And they're few and far between.
And I think the age, I've had publishers who spent tens of thousands on promotion. I was on Bill O'Reilly's show once doing a book in the 90s. That was the 90s.
Right.
Okay. Publishers don't do that. You are responsible for not only creating this, but engaging with your fan community, marketing, and having an active role in it.
Right.
And I talk to so many publishers or would-be authors, and they're like, I got a great idea for a book. And I'm like, that's only half the battle. You're going to have to go and be out there knocking on doors and kissing babies to get that book the attention it needs. And a lot of authors don't expect that. They go, well, I want the publisher to do all that. We had a good understanding up front because I was like, look, I'm going to go out and market my book. And you were like, okay.
Yeah, no, great. Yeah, we love to hear that.
That's what you
because the publisher's job is to market to the extent that we can and to get it published and to make it easy for you to market. But I mean, we really go in business together when you launch a book.
You do,
Right.
and people don't understand that. They think I'm going to write a book, and then the publisher is going to somehow magically get me on a radio show or a TV show promoting it. It doesn't work.
It doesn't happen like that.
It doesn't work.
Sometimes we can make that happen, and we definitely try. If we attempt, a lot of things are beyond our control. But you know, one of the things that I noticed about you, and I really, you're obviously a very wonderful writer, very prolific writer. But the one thing I see about you that I don't always see is you're a hard-working author. In other words, you just like you said, you could write the greatest book in the world, but you actually work at the job of being an author, which is more than just writing.
Right. I think a lot of people have ideas for books. And you talk to them, and I think we've had a few come through today where they're like, I got an idea for a book, or I'm at 3/4 of the way through a book. And I'm like, okay, so how are you going to market it? How are you going to position it?
Yeah.
You need to be thinking about that now, about who is going to be my audience for this book, and how do I engage with that audience? Because that audience will become my tribe. You know?
And Blaine, when I talked to an author, and we probably went back, and I don't think I had to ask him this question because we knew that you knew who your audience was. But a lot of books come to us, and we'll have a call with the author and say, okay, so my question for you is, who do you think your audience is? And I get shocked sometimes that they never thought about that. Who is the likely audience for this book? They never thought about it.
See, for me, it was the pitch I made to you guys is this is a conservative political thriller series.
Right.
That's my pitch. That was the pitch.
So knowing that, we know who the audience is, which is in our sweet spot, obviously.
I know. But it was deliberate that way because I thought through. Now, are liberal people going to buy this book? Now, they do because they like sending me nasty emails and posting crap online.
Yeah.
But I'm unabashed about it. It's like, look, this is for a conservative reader who wants a political thriller about the topics they want to hear about in political thriller.
Right.
That drives the business.
Right.
You got to know your audience, and you got to be willing to roll up your sleeves and go, well, I'm going to do some podcasts and webcasts. I'm going to reach out to guys who are covering books like mine and say, can you have me on your show so that we can do this? I think a lot of authors just think somehow a publisher is going to wave a magic freaking wand over this stuff and it gets sold. It doesn't work that way. You work with your publisher to make the magic happen.
So what's your background? Where did you go to school? What did you do as a career?
Oh, geez. I worked at Ernst & Young, the accounting firm, for 25 years. I was in the IT department in change management. My job the last 10 years was sending American jobs overseas to India and China. And I hated every freaking minute of it. So when the opportunity came to retire, man, I hopped on that.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Michigan, born in Virginia, raised in Michigan, went to Central Michigan University for both my bachelor's and my master's degree. And my master's degree is in human resource administration. So I worked in an IT department, and I knew human resources, which is why I got the job of helping migrate jobs out of the country. I was the guy who wrote the script for your boss to tell you you were laid off.
So I go back to the movie Office Space. Were you one of the Bobs?
I was one of the Bobs.
You're one of the Bobs. For those that have seen that movie, they'll know what I'm talking about. I love that movie.
I hated it. It was a horrible job, but it gave me this sense of really being more patriotic because I realized this is what every other company's out there doing. They're sending these jobs overseas, and they have no plan to ever bring them back. And when the world goes topsy-turvy, you're going to need that plan to bring those jobs back. And we're not going to be equipped to do it.
So tell me about your family. Family has always supported your writing efforts?
Yes, my wife has been the biggest fan of all. She reads my books, she critiques them, not before they go to the publisher because I don't want her teaching them. But she reads them and she's a huge supporter of it. My daughter and I write true crime books together. So, and that was our first book she did with me when she was 23, went on New York Times bestseller list. So, you know, I always told her I gave her the greatest Christmas gift ever. I only get stuff like socks, but I get ripped up. But you know, my daughter is an active partner with me on when we do a true crime project. You know, my son is very successful on his own. He promotes my stuff. It's just been a blast. I mean,
I'm sure they're very proud of their father and their husband.
I think they still look at me as he's my dad, so I've seen him walk around the house in his underwear, and I know he can be an asshole at times. I think that's how all kids really
Sure,
are.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, look, when the idea to start this, because I was a published author, bad experience with my previous publisher, and one of my dreams was to work with authors like you in this publishing. So thank you, Blaine.
Oh,
I
thank
appreciate
you.
you. Thank you for being part of the Defiance family. Thank you for coming to San Antonio.
Oh.
And we'll publish every book you write.
Thank you.
Thank
God
you.
bless
God bless.
Texas. God bless Defiance.